Hey guys, it's Mark Hartsuch, and I'm back with another podcast. Today I want to talk about some different subjects, especially around artist development. Something that I focused a little bit in my last podcast, but speaking of development, as you can see, I'm now using a much better camera. I'm using my Fujifilm camera. Before I was using this little webcam, which is extremely convenient, but obviously does not take as good of video. So talking about artist development, I've upgraded my art like that. Stupid. All right, moving on. I get a lot of students that talk to me about especially things like, how do I get endorsement deals? When should I make my first album? Let's look at this piece of music and kind of just dissect it with a chart and stuff like that. Or they'll send me their music and then I'll listen to it and give feedback. So there are a few things that let me just give you my experience. I was a sideman in my life from, let's say that I started playing semi-professionally around 16 years old. And I wouldn't say that I even ventured into the art world until I was around 27 or 28. Art world meaning making my own records, trying to cast out my own voice to the world. And so that, of course, is not going to be the same with everyone. But one thing that I feel generally, especially within the lens of jazz music and jazz adjacent music, is that your fundamentals should be really good on your instrument or on your voice instrument before you really, make something. Now, of course, it's fun to play in the sandbox and come up with things and have a good time. And you never know when creativity hits. There are a couple ways of thinking about this. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes you get the best ideas with the least amount of information. For my case, it was not like that. I largely think that music is about pattern recognition. Finding the patterns that made this song great, and then maybe trying to make your own song that sounds like that. Or, if you say, I want to come up with the song that's like a Joe Henderson song from the 60s. Well, what are the chords that he was using? What are the types of melodic and harmonic language that he was using at that time in those songs? And so if you know the answers to those questions, you can dial in pretty quickly. But if you don't know, then you just need to do some more research. So generally speaking, before someone makes their own album, I would say you have to have compositional tools, and you also should have, frankly, you should have soundscape tools if you're making modern production stuff, so like VSTs and a knowledge around a digital audio workstation, but also, really know how to play your instrument and, having shedded the parts and everything like that. So let's talk about the first thing, compositional tools. Okay. Unless you're having someone write the music for you and produce the music for you, who knows? I generally think that you should know what you're doing with harmony and melody, and that you should have studied some of the greats. Whether you're talking pop songs or indie rock songs or jazz songs, it's pretty important that you check out the material and that you do the work. In terms of making modern music and knowing VSTs, like a lot of people are saying that they can produce a song right out of Logic or out of Ableton. I've heard some amazing music from exclusively Ableton, but for me personally, it wasn't until I started using some of the Spectrasonics products like Omnisphere, Keyscape, Trillion, and then the Arturia V-Lab that my whole world kind of changed with the sound design stuff. Pairing that with sound toys, effects for EQ. I also use Sonics, and I also use the Universal Audio stuff for recording and whatnot. Like, those tools just feel like such an instant, easy upgrade. I mean, obviously, they cost money, but, frankly speaking, getting those things, especially since I use them every single day, it doesn't really feel like it even costs that much now, because it has yielded so much for me from using them every day. And then the last thing, of course, is like, on your instrument, can you play your scales? Can you play your rudiments? Can you play, do you have a good understanding of your instrument? To me, that's not such a mind-blowing thing to say. But for some people who don't know it, their instrument, well, I would say that you should practice before you think to, because the thing about making a record is that it's going to be there forever. Now, I've had certain mentors that have said to me, well, making a record is capturing a moment in time where you were at that moment. And if you get better, which everyone should be trying to get better, then over the long term, people will see, wow, I mean, it was amazing with his first album to his second album. I mean, he really improved. Some people would point to Post Malone's first record that he did not being a major success. There are some other ones too. I kind of feel differently about that. I think that you should probably go play in different bands and different setups. Hopefully, everyone gets an opportunity to play in a band with tracks where you get to hear a really impressive modern soundstage, like hearing tracks plus a band plus synthesizers plus that stuff, and then also get to play in bands where it's like really acoustic, broken down, so that you can feel the contrast of what, and also like what you're trying to deliver to your audiences. One thing that really kind of blew my mind is that there's a term called arena rock, like Coldplay, for example. Like, there are certain types of music that just sound amazing in stadiums. And then there are certain types of music that really sound good in jazz clubs. I've gotten to hear Moonchild, who, I actually got to spend some time with in South Africa when I played there at Cape Town Jazz. I heard Moonchild play in a club, and I heard Moonchild play in this very, very large, boomy theater. That music really does well in a jazz theater, in a jazz club, where it's super tight and really intimate, and you can really feel Amber's sound. In a room that's like an arena, Moonchild does not sound the same, because it's not like a big chord. It's really complicated chords. I think that big complicated chords don't do well typically in arenas. Triads, power chords, riffs do well in arenas. Really, really big chords with big extensions, and then like really laid back grooves seem to do better in clubs. Some people might disagree with me on that, but so anyways, I guess it's not like a crazy thing to say practice before you make a record, but so many people don't. And also, a lot of people don't seek out the help of people who have actually made records before they make their own. It's a lot of money that you're going to be spending probably in making a record. And also realize that it's like a big statement that you're going to make. I mean, if you make a statement right out of the jump, like, here I am, like, this is how professional I am, this is the record I'm delivering, it will really make an impact on your listeners, as opposed to the soft start where, he's learning and he'll figure it out. So that's one thing. The next thing that a lot of people ask me about, which I kind of mentioned already, is the whole endorsement deal thing. I started attending NAM, the National Association of Music Merchandisers in Anaheim, California, back in 2018. I really, really, really enjoyed my time, especially the first time at NAM. It's just so incredible getting to see all of the brands, getting to see, getting to play all of the different saxophones, getting to play all the mouthpieces, all the reeds. I dabble in trumpet and other instruments too. So like getting to play so many different types of horns that, you see in magazines or online that you wouldn't get to play otherwise. So very, very cool. But then also it's about the people. You're meeting the designer of this horn, or, you're meeting Jeff Coffin at the Yamaha area, who is, who I grew up seeing in the Woodwind and Brasswind magazine for Yamaha instruments. So what I would say is, like, if you're interested in being endorsed, the best thing that you can do really is start to connect with the brands first online. Obviously tagging them in your Instagram videos. Hey, I used this mic. Hey, I used this preamp. Hey, I used this mouthpiece, this saxophone. And then when you meet them, you say, hi, my name is da-da-da. I really like your horn. So let me give you the full thing of how to do it. Okay, so you have decided that you're going to go to NAM. You've booked the hotel. You booked the flight. And you go in there to the hall. What I would do if I were you all is try every piece of gear that you're interested in. But then try to make some decisions of like, okay, this is my dream horn. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go up to that booth multiple times per day. Okay. So let's say that you walk in at 10 a.m. You're going to come back at noon. Then you're going to come back again at 2. Then you're going to go back at 4 p.m. By 4 p.m., they will have seen you quite a bit. And if you're a good player, they'll think, wow, this guy keeps coming back and he sounds great and he must really like the instrument. That's when you really initiate a conversation, is after maybe the second, third, or fourth time of playing the instrument for them, so that they get a good idea and you just go back. Man, I love this horn. I can't stop thinking about it. I've played every horn today, and I really, really, really enjoy it. Do you do artist deals? I would love to send you some information about myself. I'm so happy to meet you. What's your name? Try to learn about them too. Now, a lot of times, people who might have heard what I just said might think, well, man, that's like a strategy to gain something, and it doesn't feel very human. Fortunately for me, that's kind of how I normally operate anyways, and I realized I was doing this strategy without thinking about it. So when students have approached me and they say like, hey, like, how did this happen for you? That's how it happened. My first endorsement deal that I ever got was with Jody Jazz. It's like my favorite mouthpiece brand, and I actually purchased my first tenor DV from Steve Rosenblum in Los Angeles. And I was just so in love. And basically that kind of transformed my life. So by the time I went to NAM, I was already playing that mouthpiece, and they recognized that I was playing it. So it was a very easy sell for them to put me on their roster, because I had already been playing their mouthpiece for 6 months and loving it and telling everybody about it. I would think influenced anywhere from 10 to 20 people to buy that mouthpiece after I got it, before I was an artist with them. So there is a genuine thing that happens as well, of course. Like, I genuinely love Jody Jazz mouthpieces. I think I've been more of a net benefit to them than I have been certainly a detractor. So anyways, I would take that approach. If you're really interested in a piece of gear, go meet the people. Try to have a relationship. Try to represent the gear however you can. Make a video. Make yourself valuable. I think so many people just try to be so cool about, things. And the best thing you can do is to be cool by doing what the businesses want. The businesses want attention on their products. If you really feel like from the bottom of your heart, like a piece of gear really helped you make music, then that's great. Like right now, I am not with Universal Audio, but I just think that their stuff is incredible. Like I've been using the Neve 1073 and the Avalon 737 on so many of my tracks, and those plugins just sound incredible. I have two older Apollos. I have an Apollo Twin and an Apollo 8P, and they're just wildly good. So highly encourage people to check those out, for, these great preamp emulations that they have. I think the last thing I'll mention is just the very little that I know about social media. Fortunately, some of you might know that I used to be around a person who knew quite a bit about social media. And, a lot of that information rubbed off on me. Like I understand how to play the game, I think a little bit more than most, although I haven't totally stuck to the playbook of how to do it. So, the basic thing, of course, is the consistency. Posting every day, being active, whether it's on your story or posts. And the other thing that I've found out is that, a lot of people spend sometime up to a week or 2 weeks on a single 60-second video. And so the question becomes, do I spend 2 weeks churning out 40 videos that don't do anything for you? Or do you spend 2 weeks crafting the perfect 60-second video that will change your life and that people will, discover you with? Well, the answer kind of seems obvious, right? I mean, spending more time on one thing might yield more of a result for you. So, now with that, a lot of jazz people, I think, well, wait a second, you're spending 2 weeks on a single, 60-second clip. Isn't that kind of fake? Aren't you presenting yourself as something better than you really are? I go two ways with that. I'm largely an improviser. I love, when I get hired to do a solo, for example, on, a recording project, I generally try to record it first, where I want it to be improvised. And I want my ideas to feel free. But sometimes, you have moments of genius where it's like you play the best thing that you couldn't possibly have written, but you improvise it better. Then there are some solos that I do that are fully composed that I know track better. Like, for example, some of the solos that I do over metal music that are like super technical, proggy, guitar-ish type of lines, I usually write those out, because I want it to be super form, like I want it to follow a certain language that's way different than like a swing solo. The other thing too is that there are certain songs and certain solos that like almost like it's a job that needs to be done. There's a perfect solo that anyone who hears the song will play, and you just have to play it. You just have to give people what they want. So, and then there are songs where you have the liberty to be hyper creative. So, yeah, generally, I guess my main takeaways with this are play your instrument, know how to compose, know your tools, especially in your DAW, know your plugins, know your effects, know your VSTs. And then on the playing side, know your scales, know your playing. If you want to connect with companies, go meet the people, go talk to them online. And I suppose the last thing is, be consistent on social media, but also be consistent with producing the highest quality content, regardless of how long it takes. My name is Mark Hartsuch. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.